welcome to today's video. So today is the week before Valentine's Day, and obviously we have a lot of love going on, so I thought that this was a perfect way to start. So in today's video, we are going to be doing DIY Valentine's themed projects. So if we're being honest, a lot of the Valentine's Day decor that you can buy in the store, it's just not cute. Usually it looks very cheap and just not what you want to be decorating your house with. That being said, in today's video, we're going to be making 5 DIYs that are all Valentine's themed, and I love how all of these turned out. I wanted to pick projects that are actually cute, that are aesthetically pleasing. I love how all of these turned out, and I can't wait to show you them all. First up, we have these very average, generic looking jeans. Nothing special about them, and honestly, I wasn't going to keep them because they just are nothing special. But this is the fit before, this is what they look like, and now we're going to DIY them. We're going to start off with a medium-sized brush. The bigger it is, the faster it goes, and I just used this paint that I found at the dollar store, and I'm using it in like a hot pink reddish color, and I thought it would be fun to do 2 different colors, so I'm only going to do one side of the leg, and I'm using the seams as a guideline to keep my lines really straight and make it look very clean. I ended up using 3 coats to make it an opaque red, and then I switched to the other side. Because I was going in with a lighter pink, I ended up putting a white base down first to make sure that the end result was really opaque. And honestly, I just used some white extra wall paint that I had, and it worked so amazing. The finish that it gave on top of the jeans was much better than just the regular acrylic paint that I put directly onto the jeans with the red. So if I were to redo this project, I would have done this white base on both sides. I also ended up just using this same hot pink and mixing in some of the white to make it the perfect pink shade that I wanted to my exact liking, as opposed to just using like a more expensive paint. The hot pink I got was from the dollar store, and I didn't mind using a bunch of it, so it ended up working out really great. And it just like felt better to put on and wear, and just overall was better in every way. The acrylic side did end up cracking a little bit. It's still really cute and I don't mind, but knowing what I know now, the pink side just like sat really nicely and didn't crack at all. For the next step, I took a heart hole puncher and the smallest size I could find at Michael's, and then I just took a little thin piece of cardboard and cut out a heart, and then I cut that heart out into a little square with a little extra tab on it so it was easier to hold. You don't have to do this. You could literally just cut out a heart yourself on paper, but I thought the cardboard was a little bit sturdier, and I wanted to use the stencil because I wanted all my hearts to look the exact same, but you don't have to do this. You could just freehand all your hearts, or you don't have to use a stencil if you don't mind them being not so perfect. But this is a really simple way to get perfect hearts throughout your whole jean. And I basically just went in with a black Sharpie on the pink side and a gold like paint marker on the red side, but I wanted to originally use paint, but it just bled way too much, so I found that the markers were a lot easier and just looked really clean at the end of it. I wish that I had a red Sharpie, but all I had was black, and I do really like how it turned out, so just use what you have. But I really think that this technique is like super simple, anyone can do it, and it's really fun and it looks really cute. To get your hearts to look a little more natural, I started just throwing the template. Wherever it landed and whatever direction it landed in, I just kind of left it as is to make it look a little more natural. I didn't want them all in one direction, and I didn't want them to be too perfectly placed or planned. So by tossing it, it gave it a very natural looking flow to it. Once I did the first round of hearts, I then went and tried them on, and I just put little dots wherever I felt like a heart was missing, or like there was an empty hole that I wanted to go back and draw on, and then I took them off and I just put a heart directly over the dot, so that way there was no holes or like random awkward spots, and there was like, it looked good not only on the table but also looked good actually wearing them. You don't have to do this step, but I think it does look really cute. Even if your jeans are the perfect length, you can see that there's a seam at the bottom, and I didn't really want that. Plus, my jeans were a little bit too long, so I just went in and I gave them a little cut. I think cut jeans at the bottom always look really cute, and the like raw edge is really nice with the vibe of the pants. All I did was try them on and just fold them up where I wanted them to end, and then I cut one, and then I just drew it on the other side to make sure that they were even. And I found that cutting one side at a time gives you a much straighter line than trying to cut through both sides at once, but it's pretty simple. Just draw a straight line and then cut it out. Now, I do think that this is kind of cool because I ended up using the excess fabric from like the bottom of the pants. I just cut the parts that were already painted out, and then I used that for a little embellishment on the back. So I just folded it in half and made like a little square so that the lines matched up. And then I cut out a semi heart, so just like a half of a heart, using that center line as the middle of the heart. And I got this like really cute already painted heart, so I didn't have to go back and wait for more dry time. But if you didn't end up cutting your pants, you could totally have the same look if you just wanted to use paint on the back side of your pants. But because I didn't want to go through the dry time, I just cut them out and I sewed them on. To tie my knot, I just put the end of the string to the end of the needle and wrapped it around a few times, pulled it down the length of the string, and then that gives you a perfect knot at the end. I wanted to sew all around it, but it just wasn't sturdy enough, so I ended up putting hot glue down and glued the hearts on, and then put a few stitches to look like they were sewn on. Also, I just really liked the handmade look that it gave, and then I gave a really cute embellishment to the back pockets. You don't have to do anything on the back, but I felt like so much was going on in the front, and then the back was just so boring without anything. By adding a little something to the back pockets, it really brought the whole pant together and made it look more intentional and uniform, and I really like how it turned out. Once I was done sewing, I just wanted to tie it off a little knot, so I basically just made a loop and pulled the string through it like a normal knot. And then to get your knot like as close to the fabric as possible, just hold it down with your finger, and then it should tighten right where your finger is. So it's very simple, just a normal knot, and then cut off the excess, and boom.
Let's go. But here we go now. Batman scoop on the mic, mixing the mix on the wheels of steel. This is what I was fucking born to do. Let's go.
For our next project, all you're going to need is a puzzle and some type of heart shape. So you're going to take your puzzle and you're going to lay out all the pieces. You want like a cheap puzzle from the dollar store, something that you don't really care about with bigger pieces. You don't want like a 1,000-piece puzzle. Those pieces are way too small. So you want something a little bit bigger so that you can actually tell that they're puzzle pieces. Now I put paint on both sides, and the back side of the puzzle took the paint much better because it didn't have like a coating, so it was able to actually absorb and stick better. And I just laid mine out into 4 rows because I wanted to do 4 different colors, and I wanted each color to have equal amount of pieces. And I just applied 3 coats of paint to each piece, and then once they were dry, I took this heart wreath that I found at the dollar store. Now, if your store doesn't sell one, you can definitely just cut out a heart on cardboard or whatever you can find. And I just took some hot glue and glued each piece down to the heart, alternating colors to keep it interesting. Now we will be layering these, so I started with all of the outside pieces that had one flat side because I thought that those would look better on the bottom as opposed to the top layers, and it would also provide a little bit more of the heart shape. So I went in a pattern of red, pink, like the darker pink, and then white. And once the whole base was covered, then I put pieces that were not on the base piece. So if it was a hot pink and a light pink, then I'd put white or red in between the two to cover up the gaps. And I just kept building upon that until I was basically out of pieces and all of the spots were covered. Once I was happy with the placement, then I went back to the cardboard box that the puzzle came in, and I just cut out one of the sides, and I cut it into a rectangle. Just laid it on top of the wreath to make sure I like the size. And then I painted that. Now originally I wanted to do an ombre effect, so I did white on one side and red on the other, and then was gonna blend them out. But my brush was not clean enough, and so I ended up just doing like a streaky type of feel. And I actually really like how it turned out, but you can paint it any color you want. It doesn't have to be the colors you used on the puzzle pieces. This is just what I chose for the Valentine's theme, and I'm really happy with how it ended up looking. I also used the cardboard box that the puzzle came in to cut out 2 more little squares, and I just cut a little triangle out of them, and so that they looked like the tab of a ribbon. And I ended up painting those the same way that I painted the rectangle. Once the paint was dry, I wrote with a pencil, "I love you to pieces" on that rectangle, and it took a few tries to get the positioning of the letters right and to make all the font right and everything. And then I traced over that with a black Sharpie, and I highlighted it with a gold Sharpie as well. And then I just took some hot glue and I glued down the 2 tabs to either side. Now that those 3 pieces were attached, I laid them over the wreath to figure out what positioning I liked, and then I just took some more hot glue and glued that to the puzzle pieces so that it became one unified piece. And that's it. Look how good it turned out. For our next project, I found these 4 heart trays on this wood platter from the 99-cent store for $10, and the box says 4 snack dishes with tray, but the picture shows these really pretty gold knobs. However, in my box they didn't come. I don't know if they were stolen out or what, but that's okay because you really only need a heart-shaped dish. It doesn't have to be these exact ones. They could be from Target, they could be from anywhere. And then you're gonna need a large red candle, or any color I guess, but I found this one for $2.50 at the 99-cent store, and I thought it was the perfect color for Valentine's Day, so this is what I'll be using, but you could use any candle that you don't really like, and the bigger the better. And then you're just gonna cut it down into little tiny pieces that will fit into your jar. Then you're going to take a big pot and put some water in it and a heat-resistant bowl or some type of jar and put that into the water. And then in that jar, you're going to put your wax. Start with the heat on high, and then once the water starts boiling, you can turn it down to low. While your wax is melting, you're going to take wicks and you're going to stick them to your heart dishes. So mine came with stickies that are double-sided. So you stick the wick to one side and then you stick the other side of the sticker down to the tray, and then once all your wax is melted and you have no more clumps, then you can just pour your wax in. Make sure you hold the wick out so that it doesn't get like buried in the wax, and then you can use a fork, or my little wax kit came with these little like wick holders, but you could also wrap it around a pencil. There's lots of ways you can keep your wicks standing up, and I put them in the fridge to help them cool. Once they were completely solid, I went back in with scissors and I cut the wicks down. You don't need them very tall, just tall enough to light, and then you have a beautiful heart candle. Finally, we have the Bendy candles. So I got this pack of 10 candlesticks for $5 at the 99-cent store. 50 cents a candle is a great price. I unwrapped each candle and they were ready to be put into the hot water. Now, I really struggled figuring out the right temperature for the water. After lots of trial and error and breaking every single one of them, I found that dipping it in the hot water and letting it sit for like 30 seconds. You don't want to let it sit too long because then it starts to melt and the pieces of the outside of the candle start to come off. But if you put it in for about 30 seconds, it gets hot enough that you can bend it without cracking it in half. However, I did break every single one of the 10 candles. I think part of that is because of like the shape that they're made, because they all broke about the same exact part. I think that this wouldn't happen if you're using a better quality candle, but as I said, I got these at the 99-cent store, so that may be why this happened, but I was still able to use the top part of each candle. And then I looked up different shapes that you can make. Most of the shapes are either like a U, S, or like a loop with a stick type of shape. I did two methods. One, I let it sit for 30 seconds and then took the candle out, and I kept dipping it to re-wet it and reheat it. Or you could just keep it underwater and bend it under the water if it's not too hot and it's not burning you. But both methods work. Also, when you're shaping it, all you're doing is just applying slight pressure slowly. You want to work very patiently because if you try to push too fast, it will crack. I did them one by one. You don't want to put them all in at once because then they'll start to melt. Like once I was happy with the shape, then I put it in the bowl next to me, which is cold water, just to harden it and help it to set. And I also made sure that every time I made one, before I set it, even if I liked how it looked, I stood it up on the counter to make sure that it would actually stand, because some looked nice but weren't stable enough to actually stand up on their own. And if that was the case, I used a knife to just cut down the bottom to help give it support and a more even surface to sit on. Here are the bottom quarters that broke off. Now don't throw these away. I'm just going to use them and remelt them down to pour a new candle in the future, so nothing goes to waste. Projects. I had a lot of fun making them, and I am very happy with how they all turned out. If you like this video, don't forget to give a big thumbs up and to subscribe down below to see more of me. And don't forget to turn on that bell icon to make sure you never miss a post. I hope you guys have a week full of love and a week full of cute decorations. As always, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye!